Hello, my friends. I welcome you to yet another episode of Adhitya Talks. And here we bridge our knowledge to success. So, today we have a special guest named Andreas Leitz. And he is a German who has done deep research in music, philosophy, and Indology. Now, Indology is the study of is the academic study of the history and the cultures, languages, and literature of the Indian subcontinent, and is a subset of the Asian studies. He has written about 25 books on this topic, Indology. He has interests in archaeology, history, language, and the beginning of religion, art, and music in human history. So he knows about 10 languages, which are Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, Tamil, Malayalam, Bengali, Hindi, Prakrit, Akkadian, Sumerian. He also had many interesting gurus, and one of them was Professor Heinrich Streitenkron, from Tübingen, and he was a Padma Shri from our country. And no, yes, he was a Padma Shri of our country, and he is actually a German too. So he is going to share us a very interesting story today, and he is going to share us a very important moral. He is going to share many interesting moral values from the past, and he is going to teach us many interesting things. So, my friends, if you want to learn and benefit from this knowledge of Andreas, then stay tuned till the end. Well, ciao for now. Hello, my friends. I welcome you to another episode of Adhitya Talks. And well, today's special guest that we have is Mr. Andreas, and he is an archaeologist, and he is deeply indulged in our ancient history, and he is a very good archaeologist and has is a very good person, and he has three things that he likes in his life: making food, eating food, and reading books. So I am also like that only. I also like eating food, making food, and I also like to read books. But the books he reads is from the past, our ancient books. But the books I read are the books that are now, from our time. So that's the main difference between me and Mr. Andreas. But everything else is same. So well, let's begin the interview. So the first question I have for you, Mr. Andreas, so is to please tell us about your purpose in life and briefly about your life story as to how you developed the passion for archaeology, ancient literature, philosophy, and Indian culture.
I like history and music since my time in school.
Oh.
And got the possibility to study music and the science of music. This was the time when I came first in touch with Indian culture and Indian music. My main instrument was lute, and I found the Indian veena. Therefore, I started to read my first Indian text in English translation and started recital and Sanskrit and some other of the Indian languages. After completing the study of music and science of music, I started study philosophy and Indology. Indian music is so much woven into the many aspects of the Indian philosophy and the other subjects of science. You cannot divide the Indian music. I started to take classes in classical Indian music in Kolkata, and Shubhanga Chatterjee, might be you have heard of him, took the pain to teach me the first steps into classical music in singing for me to understand the terms of the Sanskrit texts in music. Step by step, I came closer into the Indian culture. I took classes in Sanskrit and classical Tamil in Puducherry. There I met Pandits like Vardhan or Gopalaya, old man who spent the entire life in the study of the classical Tamil texts. Beside Ahmed was Vijaya Venugopal from the University of Chennai, who did research on the ancient inscription in temples and he introduced me into epigraphy and other important subjects of early Indian periods, like Brahmi and Kharoshthi script. Today I read the ancient texts only in Sanskrit or in classical Tamil. I spend a lot of time in India in good connections to sholas in universities and libraries.
So you got you had an interesting time in India, right? You got to meet many people, you got to learn many things. So that was very interesting. So Mr. Andreas, the next question I have for you is, in simple words, please explain the beginning of religion, art and music in human history.
The true beginning of religion, music and art is still unknown to us. We have in the caves of the Middle Stone Age and possibly in the Stone Age slight relicts of the existence of religious rites. But our possibility to prove it is very much limited. What we have are the burials of the Neanderthals, where we see the existence of burial practice. We have caves in France, Iraq, and other places where we find them. Their ritual and their practices is unknown to us. The picture shows a cave of the Neanderthals dated 170,000 years before Christ. We can have no doubt on the ritualistic place here, but the ritual itself is unknown to us. We have pictures of female figurines dated in the time of the Middle Stone Age and earlier, which we can understand as an icon of a mother goddess. The picture shows the Black Lady of Morocco in Africa. What is the very beginning of religion? Burial, ancestor worship or shamanism? We can't answer this question in a satisfying way until now. What we have are in the ancient stories and texts gods and former heroes, not only in India, Greek and Egypt. We have the stories in the ancient texts where we read on holy trees, holy stones, holy material. But how did they become holy? What is the historical part in these stories? Before the appearance of Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism and Jainism, we have in the entire world only two forms of religion. Abstract, like we read it in the Vedas, and in the form of an icon, like we find it in Agama or Tantric tradition. From view of archaeology, the icon is much better. We see a figure or a picture and get an impression of the people's idea of a worship. Even we didn't know anymore, no form or way of worship. Abstract is very difficult. We find in the caves of the Middle Stone Age fireplaces, hearths. But were they used for rituals? We can't answer this question very much. We find the worship of female and male in general in the form of Mother Earth and Father Heaven in the most places of this world. The names, rituals and forms of worship are specific of the surroundings, but from principle, all these male and female gods are rooted in the worship of male and female aspect in general. The human being was not created as we read in the Bible. The human appeared and developed like all the other beings. We have various kinds of early humans in history living next to each other and behind, like Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis, Homo sapiens. They needed a level of evolution to develop the idea of music, art and religion. The basic form of communication, of talking, was required. We know even from animals they have feelings and a communication system. But no one will agree to take a dog, a whale, or a monkey for to have religious ideas. Here a lot of research has to be done. The art we can see in the paintings in the caves, which are animals of various kinds. The animals of the surrounding of these people. This we have in various places of the earth. Music is related to religion, and the form of singing, flute, and drums are the very first instruments we have. Music is at the same time an expression of happiness and joy. We can show, we can be sure already the early form of humans used to sing while they felt in the right mood. Some of the pictures in caves show dances, people, and in the Vedic scriptures we read an earth drum, which is made of placing a skin of a bull over a hole in the earth and beaten by a stick. This instrument is used in the Mahabharata ritual, and we can imply this simple instrument was much more far back into the past, long time before when the Veda already was written.
Well, it was a very interesting story. Thank you for sharing us the beginning of religion, music, and Indian culture. Like everything was very interesting, and thank you for sharing everything. Well, now, so most Indian kids never read Vedas. Can you explain all the Vedas and their importance, which everyone should know in simple language? What are the importance of Vedas?
I studied since 25 years the Veda and still didn't understand everything.
Sir,
This is a type of study. First of all, the Veda is a collection of hymns, which belongs to the various traditions in the Vedic period. They are first for a long time preserved by oral tradition, and each tribe, each family, and the clans had their own hymns. They had their own form of Sanskrit, which we can see in the Pratyaksha literature even today. We see forms of Sanskrit which is different and much earlier than Panini, different between each Pratyakshas we have. These different in forms of the Vedas today in the branches of the Veda, which are called Shaka, Samhita. Each of them had their own Pratyaksha, but today we have only a few left. But what we still have is exciting to see. This is at the moment my main subject of study. How they become divided and made into the four Vedas we can read in Mahabharata and in the Puranas. These hymns preserve for us the entire life of the Vedic people, which is not limited to the borders of today India. The Vedic people lived on a vast region which is spread over a large part of the earth. In this time there was no division in countries like we know it today. There was no Germany, there was no India, there was no Russia or any other country. If we take this text as valuable, we get a deep insight into the Vedic history. Each of the tribes given in this text had their own cosmogony and their different supreme being by name. The highest god from the Vratras, for example, which we read in the Atharva Veda, is Rudra. The Brahmanas, which discuss the rituals, give further historical details for us. We just need to read them. In the Vedic hymns, we read on wars, marriages, astronomical events, and many more. Archaeology supports what we read in them, but very limited, which is natural. Archaeology will never prove the stories found in the texts. Archaeology We give only the picture of the time. The region of the Vedas is very large, but the settlements and the people are less. Rig Veda talk of 34 tribes in this large territory. And we have to add Avesta to the Veda, which shows many aspects of the Veda as well. I take the Avesta as a contemporary to the Veda, and we find the same stories given in the Veda, in the Atharva Veda as well, with additional details. A study of the Veda needs to take care of the Avesta as well. From view of language, the Sanskrit of the Veda we find with mostly regular changes, again in the Avesta. The Sanskrit S, for example, changes into Ra in the Avesta. We find the definition of the word mleccha in the Rig Veda for the Vedic period. They denote a defective form of Sanskrit and not, like in later times, non-Sanskrit speaker. We have reason to suggest the Sanskrit scholars in Vedic period understood the old Persian of the Avesta as a form of defective Sanskrit. These Vedic texts give us a deep insight into the Vedic history in various aspects.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing such a beautiful answer to my question. I am amazed, and you shared such an important thing. Everybody should take a peek into all of those Vedas, because in the ancient times everybody just used to study Vedas, no science, no textbooks, only Vedas, because everybody knew that everything that they want to know and they should know is in the Vedas, and nothing else they should know. That's why everybody should try to study Vedas, because they are very important for us. They are very important to other people also. If we can learn everything that is provided to us from the Vedas, I don't know how intelligent, how strong can we become. So well, now I have next question. Which religion you admire the most and why?
The religion is an exciting subject in the Lasat to study the thought of the people. I myself do not admire any religion, also not Christianity. I believe in the law of karma and deny the idea of any mercy for God, who forgives the sins I have committed. What we do in life, we have to get our results by time. I respect any religion and study some of them, but I do not believe in magic or any power which is against the law of nature.
Yes, yes. Everybody should respect everyone's religion, and we should all try to learn everything that is good from other religions as well, because we should know that there are other religions, there are our religion. We should learn everything, and we should try to see everything and peek into everything, because Buddhism is also very good. Everything is all very good, because it has it is like another branch of science. Like science has physics, chemistry, maths, and like physics, chemistry, and biology. So that's like religion has like Buddhism, Indian like Buddhism, like Hinduism, and many all kinds of religions. So we should try to learn every single of one of them. So now, which language is the most complete and efficient way of communication? Please give some examples as compared to English language.
There is no most efficient and complete language in the world. All the languages fulfill the needs of their speaker. But of course, we have languages where we can see and different better and lesser. English is a very simple language. That's why it became the language of the world. You didn't need study much to learn English. Even in Europe, French or Italy is much more difficult to learn than English. The same is if we compare English to languages like Sanskrit, Tamil or Hindi. Sanskrit, Tamil or Bengali, we have various words or words for to express, example, the word of love, like prem or bhakti. But in English, I can translate them always just by the word of love, without making a difference of love. But of course, the Bhakti and Prem has a different shadow in
Yes.
Sanskrit.
Yes.
This you cannot express in English.
Yes. But yeah, you said that Sanskrit has like bhakti and love. Like so, we can say bhakti is another thing. It is devotion. We can like say it as devotion. So, like you said, English is the most efficient way of communication. And well, yes, of course, it has to be because it has brought together many countries and it has become the official language of the whole world. So we should always know that English is like if I am an Indian and if I go to Europe, the means of communication will be English. I do not know like if I go to France, I don't know French. If I go to Italy, I don't know I don't know their language. So I should like we do I don't know Italian. So we can communicate in English because it is a universal language and it is easy to study. So that's why English has grasped like many hearts and it has grown like better compared to other languages. So now from your birthplace in Germany to coming to study in India to study Indian history, please advise which guru has assisted you the most and briefly tell us about your associations with them.
My first time in India was a visit in Chennai and Puducherry, when I could meet the Pandits Gopalaya, Varadeshikan, and Professor Vijaya Venugopal for the first time. At this time, when I walked on the street, I could not even understand a single word of Tamil, even after having studied it for more than 2 years here in Germany. But the classes of classical Tamil were great. The next visit I did in Kolkata in 2003, and where I met Shubhanga Chatterjee for the first time, again on the street. I could not even understand a single word of Bengali, even after 2 years of study in the university from Professor Sagar, who is a native speaker of Bengali. This was a
Oh,
very tough.
that
This was,
Bengali and Tamil are very tough languages, right? So everything okay. You were not able to understand, but you every one of those Tamilians and every one of those Bengalis they have learned that language as a mother language. So that's why it was easy for them. So at least you tried to learn this language, and it was very good because if another person tries to learn our language, then it's a very good thing for us. Well, you tried to learn now. I hope you are like fluent in that language. So let's continue.
to Calcutta, I went more often than to Chennai. To Chennai, I returned after 6 years, took classes in Sanskrit and classical Tamil for some time each year. The most inspiring was surely Professor Vijaya Venugopal, who introduced me into epigraphy, the various scripts, the first view on Indian history, here given to Tamil Nadu, some specific aspects of the historical India I got from him. The view on the northern history I got from Professor Srini Kalyanaraman. Him I never met, but his books on the Indus Valley and on the Harapan script I have all here.
Oh, so now, let's move on to the next question. Uh, what things you like most about India, and when you travel in current times, which you can connect with the history. What are the things that you can connect with the history, and what you dislike most about the current India? Let me reiterate. What things you like about India when you travel in current times, which you can connect with history. So what is common in modern India with the old India, like in the ancient India, and what do you dislike about India? So I would like your opinions on this.
India is a great and a beautiful country, much bigger than Europe. Friendly and guest-like people. There you get invited if you come as a foreigner very easily. There are many places I still have to visit.
Oh, well, please tell us about the places that you have already visited. What do you think connects modern India to ancient India?
I've seen Varanasi, Kolkata, Agra, Puducherry,
Well,
Mahabalipur.
you have visited many cities, I see. So please tell us, what do you think connects modern India to ancient India?
The growing up of the culture connects the ancient India to the modern India, and of course the language. The modern languages are grown up and developed all from the old languages. In the north, if you know Sanskrit, you can learn the other language easily. If you go in the
Yes,
south, if you know Tamil, you can learn the other language also with less difficulty. Even I feel Tamil much more difficult to learn than Sanskrit or the North Indian languages. I don't know why it is, but it is. I need to learn for Tamil in the time of study much more than for Sanskrit or for the Northern languages.
yes,
Hindi
yes,
is from the structure of languages more or less like in Germany. The grammatical structure between German and Hindi is completely the same.
oh,
Different words, but if you build and study the structure of your sentence, Hindi, German is completely the same. German is full of Sanskrit words.
yes, yes. Because like every country adapted from Sanskrit and Latin, basically. Because English is from Latin and many languages, other languages are like mostly our Indian languages, all are adapted from Sanskrit. So learning Sanskrit like gives you a key point in learning every language because they are made of Sanskrit. So it is easy to understand once you just catch hold of like Sanskrit. Okay, so now you told us about that. Now tell us what do you dislike about the current India.
What I not so much like is the habit to take historical events for to be a political issue, like the question of Aryan invasion and something like this. This you all see, like the Indians behave towards each other. Some advocate Aryan invasion, some don't like it, and how they behave, how they fight towards each other.
Yes, yes.
This,
Yeah.
this you also can see in the internet, in the social groups, Facebook, something like they do these discussions.
Yes, yes, the political discussion and all that, like the political fights, everything fights on all. We have such a diverse culture. We have such a wide range of like languages. We have something everything good, but of course, when you have so many good things, there are ought to be many downfalls as well. So that is the downfall of our culture that we are not united. Because if we were united, then like British would not have invaded India at all. We were not united, and that's why maybe British were able to invade, and we were used, and that's why we were robbed of our culture, we were robbed of our wealth, and that's why we should remember that unity gives us strength. And every Indian should remember that they should not think about themselves only. They should think about everyone as a citizen of India. We should always help and contribute to others. Because if we don't do that, who is going to do it for us? Because if we don't help ourselves, then how can we do that? So that's why we should always focus on helping other people. That's why that's the key problem, and you identified it. Thank you for doing that. Now, please advise like why music got a specific everybody knows that music got a special significance in Indian history. So now I would like to ask you that what is the difference between ancient Indian music and other music styles. I want to know, and like this is a personal question, why I should listen to Indian music question like Indian music over other music options. Why should I listen, and like many other people of India, many other children, why should they listen from Indian music? Why not another like American pop or like something like that? Why only Indian music? What is special in Indian music? So that's the question for like now.
Music is a very much important part of all the rituals from the Vedic period handed down to us. There's no ritual without chanting or singing of Saman and melodies. The word Saman is a melody or tune of a song, which has a text taken from the Veda, the Rig. The early Saman we have handed down to us are just based on a few notes, and the text is not so much important. Important is the tune, and the text is made suitable to the tone without taking care of grammar.
Okay.
We, we can see it if we compare the verses of the Rig Veda to the text used in the form of Singh preserved for us in the Sama Veda. The fact that we see early summons based on a few sounds suggests they were used in early times from the shamans to come into trance. The word saman is possibly rooted in saman. The English word shaman is rooted on the Sanskrit word shaman.
Yes, yes. So
The Sholas in some of the texts show, in, for example, in the word Gichutrusha, the form of singing is an imitation of sound found from birds and other animals. Maybe the very beginning, the people imitated the animals in their songs and also in their dances.
yes, yes. Yes.
The Sholas in the ancient time understood music as a form of yoga, which required practice and mostly purification. You cannot just start to sing it first to purify yourself by fasting, by doing rituals.
Music and as a yoga, that's a very interesting concept. Well, continue.
Which is very aspect of the early rituals is purification. Is the most important thing. You cannot do without purification any of these rituals.
Okay. So
We do not really know how the music of the very early times sounded. We have the Samaveda only in two recensions, Kartuma and Ranayaniya, in which the Saman is preserved as how the form is made for the sing. But I never have seen or sung them in public. The
okay.
Indian classical music is very much different from what we have here in Europe. They are based on a natural sound, when the European music is made constructed of the seven sounds from sea to sea, but in the other texts have many more sounds. I'm not sure if one should prefer to listen Indian or European music. Both have great intention and great words.
Yes.
But Indian should listen at least some of the ragas for to know their own culture. Indian
Yes.
music is based on melody.
Yes.
European
Yes.
music is based on harmony.
Yeah, because see, like Indian music is another subject altogether. Like if one like deeply indulges in it, then he can. Like, there are levels to like PhD in music. So it is a very diverse topic when we come to Indian music. As you said, music is a type of yoga, and that's a very interesting concept because yoga is like the concentration of your mind, the meditation, the deep meditation. So like when one sings, so it is like meditation only, that you are reaching to your inner voice and you are putting it out. So that's a very good thing, and that was a very interesting concept that our forefathers created. And well, we should always learn that we should also try to like practice this type of yoga and listen to it, because see, like singing and everything, it will increase, like it is a very interesting. And when it comes to like Indian music, I am very interested and I will try it, and I hope my viewers are inspired to try Indian music, because Andreas, you have explained it in such a good way, and like thank you. Okay, so now like Please advise more of your work related to books and which of like how many books have you written and what books are like have your special interest. Like what books are you currently reading and what books do you advise us and the children of India to read and what are your upcoming books?
My published works with Sumerian religion and Vedic history. Sumerian is the neighbor culture to the Indus Valley and contemporary to it. Cannot study one culture by ignoring the cultures around them. We find several connection points, and we know from a close relationship between Sumer and the Indus Valley settlements, at least in the economic patterns. We find the beginning of the Sumer culture and the origin is still unknown for us. It is still an unsolved problem. We can show a relationship of the Sumerian and of the Tamil language, which suggests Sumer is possibly an early form of Tamil. We find in the poetry of the Sangam literature.
Interesting.
We find in many points the Sumerian language matches with the Torakian grammar, the earliest Tamil grammar we have. But at the same time, we have various forms in Sumerian which did not match with Torakian. Here, a lot of further research has to be done. The existing part of the Sumerian culture is the religion, which is icon and temple centered, which shows very early forms of Agama and Tantra tradition, which we see in the texts of ancient India. Unfortunately, the earliest Indian texts began around 200 before Christ for Agama texts. But we find in the Brahmana literature, the Mahabharata, enough evidence for the practice of icon worship in India besides the Vedic culture, which suggests
Interesting.
the icon in India was at the same time and of the same age than the Veda. And the Vedic texts, the Mahabharata, and the Sumerian temple hymns, we find, for example, the people of Arata mentioned. So we have here one tribe of the Sumerians. This hypothesis is very much tempting, but still not accepted and not more than any in this. Further research is needed. The Sumerians define themselves as black people. The existence of assemblies, like we read on them in the early Tamil literature of the Sangam period, suggests again a connection between Sumer and Tamil further. The Sumerian texts are written in cuneiform script, where the existence of different forms of letters like L, N, and R is not so very much clear, but we still have the problem to read these cuneiform texts. Many Sumerian of the tablets are broken and incomplete. What we read in the Sumerian temple hymns suggests the different forms of these letters already in Sumerian period. Many of my publications discuss these problems. One exciting subject is the astronomy, which we find in Sumer, Babylon, and in Vedic India, on a remarkable knowledge. The Indian text give us various details on astronomical constellations connecting to important events like wars or the performance of rituals by the kings. If we can one day understand them and name the stars and the comets of present day, then we will be able to find dates for these events much earlier. In Vedic history, chronology and dating is still the biggest problem. My project at the moment, the different traditions in Veda is rooted in the different branches of the Veda. We read in many works of the Sholas on the confusion of the Sholas regarding the performance of these rituals by the ancient texts, if we study them clearly, show clearly there is no confusion. And these differences are rooted in the existence of different traditions. The ancient philosophers knew very well any detail of the ritual in their tradition. If we can take the ancient Veda, the Brahmana, the Aranyaka text is valuable, then we get a rich and colorful picture of the Vedic history in the ancient times. We see a difference in the Sanskrit language and the grammar between these branches.
That's very
The
interesting.
Sanskrit by them is much earlier than Panini, and we see different forms of grammar in each of the texts. Texts like Maitrayani Samhita offers to us etymological reflections, which are much earlier and different from Yaska. The first volume is already published, and the next, dealing with the Soma worship, will come soon. Volume 3 will discuss the other great public rituals. Volume 5 and 4, the domestic rituals. Volume 6 will discuss the Sanskrit and the grammar. And if I were still alive, then Volume 7 will discuss the different tribes. In preparation are the religions found in the Middle Stone Age, a study for the roots of the religious thoughts in the later periods. The list of the kings from Sumer, where we find kings of the ancient Indian texts like King Rama and his brother, is one other part of my work. This list is
Very
one of the
interesting
biggest
work you do. So now you told us so many things about your books and your upcoming books. So now please tell me, like now you told so much about your books. Now can you show us a teensy bit, like can you just show us about like some of your like library?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that would be a pleasure. My viewers, this is a very interesting view because we are going to see the library of Andreas Leitz, and he's a very interesting archaeologist. So he has shared so much knowledge with us, so much inspiration, so much knowledge that everybody should learn, and like everybody should learn and indulge. Oh, that's a very good library you have, and this is like your own small studio room, like
This
very
is my
good.
own small studio.
Oh, very good. This is your whole room, like your study room, right?
Yes.
Sort of. Oh, okay.
Full of books,
Now,
but my place of books become finished.
oh, so you have so many books that you do not have place to keep them. Well, that's the case with me also. I have so many books, so many books. Oh my God, I'm like inspired. Well, you have so many books, even more than me.
I I buy all the time books when I come to India. I have also a small altar.
I like all these figurines of gods.
Working place.
Okay, thank you. Now let's return to the interview. This was a small but a very interesting detour that we had. So, well, thank you for sharing your library. Everybody should be inspired to read more books because you had such an awesome library, and I was like seriously inspired because I also love to read books, and I see that you also love to read books too. So that's a very good common thing that we have, and many of my viewers, I suppose, they also like to read books. So it is a common thing between my viewers, you and me. So, well, let's resume the interview. So, one advice can you give to the children today to learn from the history, and why? Please also advise the most interesting wisdom that like you got from researching history for so long. What is the experience, the crux of the experience and the wisdom that you got from learning and like reading or researching on ancient history for so long? And can you advise like what children should do about that?
History is an exciting subject, and it tells us about the development of the human states and the way of life during the existence and the human existence. History is made of various parts of science like archaeology, astronomy, and much more part of science are included. There are various great publications of the ancient history, and we have also in ancient times also great historians, like we have Herodotus in Greek, Manetho in Egypt, and of course the Mahabharata in India, which is the most complete history book we have today.
Yes, yes.
All of them are taking a critical view of the modern science. But the people who never took the time to read or them are the biggest critical people of them. They all give problems to us because the archaeological picture does not truly match to what we read in the book. But this is normal. This archaeology cannot do. Archaeology can show only a picture of the time that
Yes,
is
yes.
described in this study. And I think the Mahabharata is at least one of the books an Indian child should read. It is,
Yes, yes.
if,
So,
if possible, complete.
yeah, so everybody, like, so what is your advice, like, to all those children in three,
They,
like,
they,
in one sentence?
they should read Mahabharata and Ramayana for to know the history.
Yes.
And take it
Well,
seriously.
that's a very
They,
interesting thing. Okay, continue.
they should take it seriously, and that is a story of fantasy. It is
Yeah,
history.
yeah. They should take it like seriously, because like Mahabharata has like famous incidents such as the like writing and the answering of Bhagavad Gita, and like Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata and Ramayana. They are epics of India, and everybody should read them, because not only they contain interesting stories, but they contain a whole lot of wisdom that every child should learn. Because see, we try to learn from many people, but when we look into our own history, our like ancient gods like Ram and Krishna and everybody, like from Mahabharata and like Ramayana, everybody should focus on that, because see, they are such huge stories of wars, and like they have what every like Bhagavad Gita is said to have the answers to all the questions of humans in life. So every child should like begin and have a like at least have a mild interest in reading Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And so that's a very interesting thing that you told. Everybody should like try to like read Ramayana and Mahabharata, because they are very good epics from our own Indian culture. So we should learn everything that we can from it. So now, like, who is like what? Please advise me to like who is your favorite person? Who is your favorite person? Like, who had the maximum impact in your life? And what is the most important book that you have read in your life? Because see, you showed us so many books from your library. Now please tell us your favorite book, because our viewers would also like to read it if they want to know more about the ancient Indian culture. So your favorite person and your favorite book.
My favorite book are Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Oh yes, yeah, they're very interesting.
They state the entire history, what you have to know in as a person interested in India, and it is a supplementary to the
Okay.
Veda. What you read
Supplementary
Veda,
to the Veda, yeah.
it's confirmed from stories in Mahabharata and Ramayana, and it is confirmed in partly by archaeology.
Yes,
That we
yes.
find King Rama on a state in Sumer is great, but still it creates a lot of problems.
Yes, yes. Okay, so your favorite person?
It's Professor Vijaya Vinogopal. He
Okay.
inspired me the most.
How did
By,
he
by, the,
how did he inspire you?
by his teaching
Oh,
on
okay. On?
in early by his teaching on Indian history.
Okay, so
Uh,
he's your teacher.
he was my mentor and teacher
So
when he
that.
already was an old man. When
Okay.
I met him the first time, he was more than around 80 years.
Oh, so he's a very old person. He might have had like so much wisdom.
I don't know if he's still alive, but I hope.
Yeah. Okay, he will be alive because he taught a very great person, and you
Yeah,
are doing very great things for the humankind. So he will not die. Do not do. Yeah. So
but he has no internet.
yeah. So well, that's a very good thing. You are inspired by an Indian, and he inspired you to he inspired you to learn. So, uh,
Sorry.
the last question I have for you is the question is that I hope like you enjoyed our conversation today. So please advise who would you like to listen next on my show to get inspiration.
The most exciting man for me would be Professor Khalid Naraman.
Oh, can you okay?
From the Saraswati Research Institute. He is the one who wrote the books on Harappan and Indus Valley script.
Oh,
He was a very exciting man.
okay, he's a very is exciting person. I hope you enjoyed this interview because I did, and it was a pleasure talking to you. It was an honor to talk to you because you have such a vast gold mine of knowledge, and I am truly inspired by like many of your qualities. You have so many books, like, and so now that's that. And well, let's meet next time. Shuffle now. Bye bye.
Bye.